Mr. President, don't stand. That wouldn't be right. Good evening. Thank you, Mr. President, Mrs. Obama, distinguished members of the press, and Bon Jovi. When you think about it, the president and I are a lot alike. We both went to Harvard, we both have 2 children, and we both told Joe Biden we didn't have extra tickets. It was the time I wouldn't shut up about that stone-cold fox, Secretary of Transportation Ray LaHood. Oh, man. I like the cut of his jib. But President Obama, so now it's only fair that I get to do what you do. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. For the next 15 minutes, I'll be mired in a tense, dysfunctional standoff with Congress. This is going to be fun. Since he was first elected, the number of popes has doubled. Congratulations. And while I'm at it, I'd like to congratulate President George W. Bush on this week's dedication of his presidential library. Yes, the library has millions of books, articles, and documents, and if you go, you can be the first to read them. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's get going. Right here at the start, I'm going to share something with you people, and this doesn't leave this room. I say this with absolute confidence because we're on C-SPAN. Who doesn't love C-SPAN, seriously? They narrowly beat out HGTV2, QVC South America, and the Hilton Hotel How to Check Out channel. Is it just me, or is it time to stop using Priceline to book this event? No, I love the Hilton. I really love the Hilton's motto, "Sorry, the Radisson was booked." You know, I was worried that because of the sequester, we would be forced to hold this event at a less prestigious hotel than the DC Hilton. Then I was told that's not possible. By the way, for those of you here for the Cash for Gold seminar, that's been moved to Salon B on the mezzanine. And if Joe Biden asks, there are no extra tickets for that either. Quick announcements before we really get going, before we continue. If any of you are live tweeting this event, please use the hashtag incapable of living in the moment. There's a gavel here and I don't know why. Here's a fun fact about tonight's food. Everything you ate this evening was personally shot by Wayne LaPierre. That wasn't peppercorn, that was buckshot, ladies and gentlemen. Incidentally, you may not know this, but Wayne LaPierre is merely the executive vice president of the NRA. Which begs the question, how freaking crazy do you have to be the actual president of the NRA? Also, I'd like to acknowledge that earlier this evening, there was some confusion with the seating chart. For a moment, someone accidentally sat Governor Chris Christie with the Republicans. That was awkward, and I apologize. Very awkward. It's an absolute joy to be here at the White House Correspondence Dinner. Last year, Tom Brokaw criticized this event for having too many superstars and A-list celebrities. When I told Tom I would be attending this year, he said, "That's more like it." The guys from Duck Dynasty are here, which can only mean one thing: the guys from Storage Wars said no. Hey, now as some of you know, this is my second time speaking at this event. I was last here 18 years ago, back in 1995. A lot's changed since then. Today you can get real-time information on world events from something small enough to fit in the palm of your hand. Back in '95, we called that George Stephanopoulos. I can't see if George is here because there's a crouton in the way. It's amazing to think how much our country has changed in 18 years. Think about it. If in 1995 you told me that in 2013 we'd have an African-American president. The demographics of this country have been rapidly changing over the past 2 decades, and I look forward to hosting this event 18 years from now. Then my opening line will be, "Buenos noches, es un honor poder hablar en esta escena de los corresponsales de la Casa Blanca." But my prior experience has taught me how these dinners work. If the president laughs, everyone laughs. Which has me wondering, if you're here, who's covering Miley Cyrus's latest nip slip? Who's assembling today's top 25 yogurt-related tweets? 7 mistakes you're making with bacon. That's a real one, and you should be ashamed of yourselves. Yes, a lot of online stars are in the room, but unfortunately, Matt Drudge couldn't make it. Yeah, he had a prior commitment to teach a web design class in 1997. Of course, the Washington print media is also joining us this evening. The print media are here for two very good reasons: food and shelter. Man, rough year for Newsweek, which after 80 years published its last print issue. Yeah. Time magazine might be gloating, but they really shouldn't, because Time will outlive Newsweek the way Juliet outlived Romeo. With that in mind, Reuters is asking everyone here to leave a little wine at the bottom of their glass. And to be fair, print media still has a big star in Bob Woodward, okay? Gotta give it up for Bob Woodward, yeah? Yeah? Yeah, earlier this evening, a waiter asked Mr. Woodward if he wanted regular or decaf, and he said, "Stop threatening me." Also tonight, some of the big names in television news. When it comes to television news, we have a divided media landscape. Okay, Fox News is watched by conservatives, MSC is watched by liberals, and CNN is watched by the people who clean the offices at CNN. I have to say, in the past few years, CNN has made some very odd moves. For example, they replaced the popular Larry King with one of the scheming footmen from Downton Abbey. This is a learning experience. You gotta love NPR. NPR is still the #1 source for news delivered as if there's a toddler sleeping in the next room. But as I look around the room and see all the media here tonight, I realize this is all just one big high school cafeteria. That's all it is. Of course, probably the biggest story that people in this room covered this past year was the Republican failure to recapture the White House. Hard to believe the Republicans didn't fare better in the election with the support of celebrities like Ted Nugent and Meatloaf. I guess they overestimated the number of voters who still drive carpeted vans. By the way, as of today, the U.S. Senate has a record number of African-American senators. Two. In other words, there are now more African-Americans in the Senate than at a Mumford & Sons concert. Who's this man? Paul Ryan recently, he really burst through last year when he ran for vice president. After the election, Ryan said President Obama was reelected because of the high turnout of urban voters. Then when he was asked just how he liked his coffee, Ryan said, "No milk, no sugar, just urban." House Majority Leader Eric Cantor is here, or as I like to refer to him, yet another Jewish Republican from the South. Gets old. That reminds me, also joining us is a congressman from New York named Steve Israel. That's right, he's from New York, and his name is Israel. Now there's pandering, and then there's pandering. That's like having a congressman from South Carolina named Jesus H. Gunn. It's no surprise that Speaker John Boehner isn't here tonight. Speaker Boehner and President Obama are still struggling to get along. President Obama and John Boehner are kind of like a blind date between Anderson Cooper and Rachel Maddow. In theory, they understand each other's positions, but deep down, you know nothing's ever gonna happen. Now, I know the relationship between the president and the press can seem a bit strained at times. Some in this room have even accused the president of being distant and aloof. When I asked the president about it earlier, he said, "Oh," and then walked away. President Obama has already made a lot of changes in his second term. Sir, you recently appointed John Kerry and Chuck Hagel. Very smart move. You appointed the only two people in the United States who look even more tired than you. I don't want to alarm you, sir, but you're starting to look like a judge on Law and Order. Just say you're on thin ice, counselor. You could have that part right away. Seriously, Mr. President, your hair is so white, it could be a member of your cabinet. Now, I've made some jokes about the president this evening, and I'm looking forward to my audit. I have one more thing to mention before I go. Everyone's obsessed with Washington these days. You all saw how you went crazy for House of Cards, Homeland, and of course this event tonight. They just finished the casting, and I would like to announce who is going to play who. This is big. Vice President Joe Biden is going to be played by Bob Barker. Former White House advisor David Axelrod will be played by Higgins from Magnum P.I. This was also produced by Steven Spielberg, by the way. Representative Paul Ryan will be played by Mr. Bean. Senator Chuck Schumer will be played by Grandpa Munster. Senator Harry Reid will be played by the old man from the American Gothic painting. Fox News CEO Roger Ailes will be played by Boss Hogg. We signed the deal. Speaker of the House John Boehner will be played by Tan Mom. Secretary of Homeland Security Janet Napolitano will be played by Paul Giamatti. Former White House Chief of Staff and Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel will be played by Stewie from Family Guy. Secretary of State John Kerry will be played by an Easter Island head. I cannot tell those two apart. Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts will be played by Buzz Lightyear. Senator Mitch McConnell will be played by Dame Edna. CNN anchor Wolf Blitzer will be played by a Furby. NRA Executive Vice President Wayne LaPierre will be played by the face melt guy from Raiders of the Lost Ark. And finally, White House Press Secretary Jay Carney will be played by Ralphie from A Christmas Story.